My name is Billy, and I've always lived in order. My days are predictable in the best way. Wake at 6:30, black coffee, and a workspace so clean you'd think it was staged for a photo. That order wasn't just routine. It was comfort, stability, something to hold on to when the rest of life felt uncertain. Megan, my girlfriend, was the complete opposite. She was all whirlwind and spontaneity. She'd book trips on a Tuesday for a Thursday departure, accept last-minute invites without thinking twice, and leave her belongings scattered everywhere like a breadcrumb trail. For years, I told myself it was balance. She brought the chaos, I brought the calm. It made us work, or at least, I thought it did. That Friday evening, she was darting around the apartment, throwing scarves and shoes into a suitcase for what she called a wellness retreat. She grinned at me with that familiar spark in her eye, kissed my cheek, and said, "Don't wait up for me, Billy. Maybe you'll actually miss me." Then she was gone, and the apartment fell into silence, the kind of silence I'd always loved. But around 9 p.m., I went to grab my laptop charger and noticed something I'll never forget. Megan's leather-bound diary lying open on the coffee table, the one I'd given her as a gift. Normally, I would have closed it and walked away. I respect privacy, but this wasn't closed. It was open wide, pen still lying across the crease like she'd been interrupted mid-thought. And then, my eyes caught something that stopped me cold. My name, written right beside another. David. My chest tightened. David was the man Megan once dismissed as just an old friend. The man she swore I had nothing to worry about. Against every instinct screaming for me to shut the diary, I sat down. I read. At first it seemed harmless, notes about her so-called retreat. But then the tone shifted. Billy will think I'm gone with the girls. Perfect cover to spend the weekend with David. I read it 3 times. My hands trembled. But I didn't stop. I kept turning pages. What I uncovered wasn't just infidelity, it was a blueprint. Megan had written out plans, step by step. I was the bridge, she wrote, the one holding things together until she and David could stand on their own. She had even tied it to my savings. The $35,000 I'd worked for years to build. She called it dead weight capital. Dead weight. That money wasn't for her dreams, it was for a condo, stability, a home. She laughed about it in ink, mocking me while writing about how David promised her a loft studio with exposed brick and real possibilities. And then, the line that broke something inside me. He melts when I visit his mom. David says it's almost too easy. She wasn't just using me, she was exploiting my mother's illness, pretending to care so I'd trust her more. There was no explosion of anger. No shouting, no tears. Just a cold, clear realization. Megan hadn't betrayed me in passing. She'd built a playbook for it. And now that playbook was lying in front of me. So I did what I do best. I got organized. I pulled out my phone, photographed every page, and stored it in 2 separate backups. What I had wasn't just heartbreak, it was evidence. That night, I didn't think like a heartbroken man. I thought like a strategist. If Megan was planning her exit, I would build mine. Faster, cleaner, sharper. By midnight, I had a checklist. First step, money. I logged into our accounts and closed the shared card. I rerouted my paycheck into my personal account. Megan had been behind on her share of the bills for months. No way was I leaving myself exposed. Next, the apartment. I typed up a formal notice to Pam, our property manager. My side of the lease was ending. If Megan wanted to stay, she'd need to requalify on her own. By dawn, the email was sent. Then came the physical exit. I packed 3 bags, essentials only, clothes, work laptop, external drives, and a few books I couldn't part with. Everything else? Furniture, decor, the dishes Megan picked out, I left them behind. By the time the sun rose, the order of my life was already restored. At noon, my friend Lucas arrived with his truck. He didn't pry when he saw the look on my face. "Point me to the boxes," he said simply. In silence, we carried everything down the stairs. By evening, I unlocked the door to a one-bedroom sublet. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet, and it was mine. Meanwhile, Megan had no idea. She kept sending texts, little snapshots of wine glasses, and "miss you already." She thought she was living her double life undetected. She thought I was still in the dark. But when she came home a day early and found half the apartment empty, the calm shattered. 10 missed calls lit up my phone. Then came the texts. "Billy, where are you? Why is half the apartment gone? This isn't funny. Answer me." I didn't. Not at first. I wanted her to stew in silence, to feel the script slipping from her hands. By evening, my neighbor Mrs. Lang called. "Your girlfriend is screaming your name in the hallway," she said softly. "She looks like she's losing her mind." When I finally answered, Megan exploded. "What the hell is going on? Did you just leave?" Her voice cracked into panic, then fury. When I calmly said, "I moved out," she snapped back. "You went through my diary, didn't you?" "Yes," I replied. "And I know everything." Her tone flipped instantly. Rage, disgust. She accused me of violating her privacy. I told her I had photos of every page, that her fantasy diary lined up with real retreats, real expenses, real dates. And then, when she screamed for me to delete it, I said what she never expected to hear. "This isn't about love anymore. It's over." And I hung up. For the first time in years, silence felt like relief. Megan didn't retreat. She escalated. First came the flood of texts, apologies, threats, guilt trips. Then, her father called. His tone was sharp. "Billy, Megan tells me you abandoned her. Whatever misunderstanding this is, you need to handle it like an adult." But when I said I'd read her diary and that she'd planned to drain my savings, the line went quiet. Finally, he muttered, "That's private writing. You don't destroy a relationship over scribbles." Scribbles? Scribbles don't come with dollar amounts, timelines, and strategies. Scribbles don't mock my mother's illness. But I didn't argue. I let the silence speak. Days later, I received a letter on legal letterhead. Megan's lawyer demanded I restore shared assets and pay emotional damages. It was laughable. Everything I'd taken was mine, with receipts. But this told me one thing. She wasn't done playing, so neither was I. Her diary had handed me something priceless. Names: Harriet, a gallery sponsor; Janine, a grants officer. These were the people who could make or break Megan's and David's dream studio. Without them, their entire plan collapsed. I spent 2 nights compiling a packet. Scans of diary entries organized chronologically, paired with a simple cover letter. No drama, just the facts. Then I sent them by courier. Signature required. The fallout was almost instant. 3 days later, Megan's carefully curated social media flipped. No more glossy updates about our studio journey. Instead, vague posts about betrayal and control. David commented supportively, but even online, you could see the cracks forming. Behind the scenes, Harriet canceled their showcase. Janine flagged their grant for discrepancies. And David? He bailed. His final message leaked through. "We're done. I can't get tied up in this mess." In less than a week, Megan's empire crumbled. The studio, the gallery, the partner she gambled everything on, it all vanished. And the best part? I didn't have to fight her. I just cut the strings she'd tied to me. The empire was gone, but Megan wasn't finished with me. Her tone shifted. The screaming stopped. Now she begged, cried. "Please, Billy. I can't pay rent alone." Adrian bailed. "My parents are furious. Pam says I'll be locked out in weeks. Just undo this," but I didn't. Instead, I offered her one deal. "Pay back what you owe. Your half of rent, utilities, and my moving costs. $3,000 and change. Once it's paid, we're square." Her voice snapped back to venom. "You're seriously sending me a bill?" "It's not a bill," I said calmly. "It's closure." Days later, a cashier's check arrived. Exact amount. The return address, her parents' house, no note inside, just silence. Then, her father called again. His voice sounded tired, weathered. "Billy, the lawyer thing was a mistake. Megan insisted, but I need to know, was it real? Did she really plan to use you? Or did you twist things in your head?" I told him everything. About the condo fund she mocked, the scripts she wrote for convincing me to transfer money, the way she used my mother's illness as a tool. I spoke with no anger, just truth. He sighed, a heavy, broken sound. "She swore you made it up. Said she burned the diary. Said it was just words. But a man doesn't hire movers and lawyers over a misunderstanding." Exactly. When the lease ended, Megan was gone. Pam confirmed she turned in her keys. That chapter was closed. I moved into a modest condo, the kind she once called boring. Beige walls, small balcony, 2 bedrooms. But this time, the deed carried only my name. Every dollar that paid for it was mine. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest. And honest felt better than anything I'd ever shared with Megan. At work, my manager noticed the same thing she once mocked, my meticulous planning. "You think 3 steps ahead," he told me. "I'm promoting you." More responsibility, more pay. 1 week later, I saw her again. Through a cafe window, walking past with her head down, scrolling her phone. She didn't see me, and I didn't feel anger or pity. Just nothing. Her fire had burned out, and I was free. When I finished unpacking my condo, I found a framed star map I'd once given her from the night we met. She'd hidden it in the closet. I replaced it with something new, bold letters on white. The truth doesn't destroy you. It removes what was never real. Now, every time I walk in or out, it greets me. A reminder that I didn't lose Megan. I lost an illusion. And I walked away with my evidence, my savings, and my name intact. That silence I once craved, it's not empty anymore. It's victory.